Men of God need to start living for Christ today. How's it going, guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Connor. I'm trying to build a community of men, young men who want to follow God, His Word, read it every single day, learn more about it, and to seek Christ. If you wouldn't mind supporting me, please like, subscribe, and maybe share this video with a friend. Let's get into it. Let's be real. As a man of God, we need to lock in. Now, I want this video to be aimed kind of towards a younger generation, maybe guys who want to get married in the future, but maybe aren't. Before you're married, you need to lock in on a couple of things. Today, we're going to be reading from Proverbs chapter 5. We're going to keep reading, and I'll stop and we'll talk for a little bit. Avoid seduction. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen closely to my understanding, so that you may maintain discretion and your lips safeguard knowledge. Though the lips of the forbidden woman drip honey, and her words are smoother than oil, in the end she is as bitter as wormwood, and as sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps head straight for Sheol, or in other words, hell. What this is pretty much saying is that sin is going to lead you to death or to hell. Romans tells us that the wages of sin is death, and that the aftermath of that is going to be separation from God for eternity. So many people look at this and just specifically point this out to young men for lust, but I think it's applicable to so many sins. Lust or other sins seem so attractive in the moment, but they will lead you to death. Let's just keep reading. Verse 6, she doesn't consider the path of life. She doesn't know that her ways are unstable. So now, sons, listen to me and don't turn away from the words from my mouth. Keep your way far from her. Don't go near the door of her house. As men of God, we need to guard ourselves to not even go near the door of sin. If you step in the boxing ring with lust, with sin, you've already lost. We need to flee from sin. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. Let's skip forward a little bit to verse 15 because I wanted to relate this passage to marriage and living the purpose that God has called as men of God on our lives. Verse 15 says, drink water from your own cistern, water flowing from your own well. Should your springs flow in the streets, streams in the public squares, they should be for you alone and not for you to share with strangers. Fellas, we gotta lock in. It is so incredibly important to keep the sexual part of yourself pure. Solomon is pretty much describing, he's just saying, what are you doing? Why are you sharing this with everybody? It is meant for your own well, for your own marriage. And we're going to get into what that means in a second. Let's keep reading. Verse 18 says, let your fountain be blessed and take pleasure in the wife of your youth, a loving deer, a graceful doe, and let her breast always satisfy you. Be lost in her love forever. Why, my son, would you lose yourself with a forbidden woman, or embrace a wayward woman? For a man's ways are before the Lord's eyes, and he considers all his paths. A wicked man's iniquities will trap him. He will become tangled in the ropes of his own sin. Now this part gets crazy. He will die because there is no discipline, and be lost because of his great stupidity. Guys, we're getting called out here. Solomon is calling us stupid. God is calling us stupid through Solomon. But it is just talking about the great stupidity of being entangled with sin. Sin that seems so pleasurable. Sin that seems so attractive. But it calls us back and it says it will lead you to death. Don't be stupid. Now I wanted to get into what I said about having a wife. Just because you don't have a wife doesn't mean that you should indulge in sin. You will have a wife, and it is good to start living like you have a wife before you have a wife. And if you don't have a wife, or if you don't ever plan to have one, we're still called to be pure men of God. I wanted to turn to 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 11. Fight the good fight, but you, men of God, flee from these things and pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. Flee from these things. 1 Timothy in chapter 6 talks about false doctrine and the greed of humanity. He goes through a whole list of characteristics of men that do things for selfish gain, living for themselves instead of Christ, instead of their families, instead of other people. Selfish gain. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, and by craving it, some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many grief. Money won't satisfy you. Sin is not going to satisfy you. There's nothing in this world that will satisfy us besides Christ. As men of God, we're called to flee from immorality. In the video yesterday, we talked about in James, it says, rid yourself of moral filth. We need to be ruthless in the way we handle sin. We need to cut it out of our lives. God uses men who want to follow him. When we want to follow him, we get rid of sin. We cut it out of our minds, our hearts, all these things. I wanted to talk about another verse, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, I believe. Yeah. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, chapter 16, verse 13, 14. Here Paul is wrapping up his letter to the Corinthians. He's just kind of summing things up. It says, be alert, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. Do everything in love. Be alert. We need to be on alert for temptations, for things that are going to cause you to fall. When you get married or when you're called to lead a family, being alert and watching out for those people above yourselves is crucial. Stand firm in the faith. We need to stand firm in Jesus. And not just stand firm and walk through every single day living like that's enough. We need to let other people know the love of Christ. That's standing firm. It breaks my heart to see so many young men. I meet plenty of them at sports or through school when I was younger, all sorts of things that I could never guess that they were a Christian. Yet they would tell people that they were, and if they had asked, and it all goes back to, their family went to church, or we go to church on Christmas, Easter. No, we need to be vocal about our faith. I want every single one of us to be challenged. Let every single person in your life know the love of Christ. We're not called to be passive. We're called to be assertive and letting others know. That's standing firm, not just doing nothing. Be courageous and be strong. Do everything in love. The Bible says no love is greater than a man who would lay down his life for a friend. We could take that as dying. I think that's pretty much the message of that, but also just living your life as putting others before you is just crucial. And I think that goes back to my example about loving your spouse, not just if you have one now, but if you don't have one now, loving them because you know they're going to come around. Love your future spouse, love your future friends, love the people that are going to come into your life, and prepare yourself for that. To be a man who is worthy of leading those kinds of people, leading a family, leading a wife. Love your spouse. Past, present, future, we're called to this. Love God. Love God so much that your love for him is greater than any temptation for sin. Love God so much that you would do anything. Have that kind of love that you would lay your life down for your best friend, Jesus. Laying down your desires, your temptations, your well-being, anything that comes in the way of your walk with Christ is something that we need to give to him. I call every single man that is watching this video to stand firm in Jesus and to do these things. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.